You know what? We're just going to start like this. Welcome to Hot Takes, where we're just talking about wrestling. We have some controversial stuff to talk about today. I think the Attitude Era sucks. And my brother Anthony.
I love the Attitude Era.
So let's get into it right now. Stop what you're doing. Like, subscribe, comment, dislike. I don't care. We're feeding for attention. We need the attention, and we're going to get it. Come on, let's go. Let's start it out.
Attitude Era. Attitude Era.
Attitude Era?
Good or bad wrestling?
I would say it's ugly.
Loved it.
Ugly.
Loved it.
Ugly.
Why?
Why? What is the best title reign in the last 20 years?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That wasn't 20 years ago.
I don't know what 20 years. I don't even know what I ate for breakfast.
Okay, the last 10 years.
Last 10 years, I would have to say either this Roman Reigns one or the CM Punk one.
How long was the Roman Reigns one?
This one's 2 years currently.
How long was the CM Punk one?
A year and a half.
Do you know how many days Attitude Era Championship was?
What's that?
58 days on average. Do you want to know how many champions they had in 1 year in 1999?
What?
12.
Really? So
Yes.
talk to me, why is the Attitude Era overrated?
I just told you.
That's it? That's the only argument?
No, there's more, but we're talking about championships.
I mean, championships are cool and everything, but championships don't make the era.
Back in the 60s, everybody wanted to be Bruno Sammartino, right?
But yeah, you only wrestle one time a month. Shoot, if I wrestle one time a month, I'd be champion for infinity.
Half of it, Roman Reigns only wrestles one time a month.
No.
Yes. When was the last time
he's wrestled? For the championship?
No. Yeah, for the championship. It was about a month ago, right?
Yeah, about a month ago.
So.
I mean, I guess, but
You also have the likes of all these championships before the 1990s were prestigious. Well, name the top 5 championships you remember.
From where?
From anywhere, any decade. Like you remember that they held the championship.
Oh, Dave Bautista.
Okay.
Whenever when he first came in, and he won the title. I remember Sheamus. I remember John Cena's. Obviously, from whenever he had the orange shirt, CM Punk's, Daniel Bryan.
I'm talking stuff people. Okay, keep going. You don't have to remember them exactly, but who are the most prestigious champions? Champion runs.
Champion runs? I will agree with you that, but it's Attitude Era. I don't really remember. It wasn't really much about the championships. It was about being edgy. It was about okay. Will you ever hear a pop like Stone Cold Steve Austin's?
I have.
Oh, where?
August 21st, 2021.
Oh, come on now.
I've also heard
that's once. That's once. He gets that consistently.
Okay.
Consistently.
Okay.
The Attitude Era was able.
You're talking about being edgy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you make of Val Venus having an Asian stereotype, cut a thing in half, and say, I chop your pee-pee off? That's edgy? Or is that just stupid? And stereotypical and racist?
That's funny.
It's not wrestling, though. It's not. I'm talking, it killed wrestling.
Oh, so they did the same thing years ago. They did all the freaking weird crap then.
Okay.
The freaking Giant Gonzalez being fucking weird.
That's that's Vince McMahon's WWF.
That's that same thing with everything. Okay, they have NWA, who's all about seriousness, but that's the reason why they got run out of business.
No.
It's because they kept doing the same shtick. Then Vince McMahon bought everybody out, or they went out of business, and it just completely better. TV ratings were soaring. They did the same thing in WCW where they did, corny stuff. They did all of it. It's how wrestling is.
What happened to wrestling now?
And they got stale because it's the same thing with Al Davis with the Raiders. You have an owner who meddles in everything. Of course, he's gonna be what's it called? He's gonna get old as senile, where he likes it the way he likes it, and that's it. Nobody that matters.
Okay, another one. Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
What the hell just happened?
I don't know, a lot of stuff. Okay. Mae Young's hand.
That's hilarious.
Why are you jaking my chain, man? You know that was bad.
It's funny though.
You hate jokes.
You like professional wrestling.
Yes, I do.
I like sports entertainment. That's entertainment.
It's not entertaining. You don't want them to. Okay, so how come you complain about? You complain. Okay. So Roman Reigns getting dog food on him. Do you like that?
No.
So, is this any better? Big Boss feeds Al Snow his dog. Why? You're jaking my train, man. You're not even making any sense here.
That's hilarious.
How?
Because it's stupid.
Exactly. You're making a mockery of professional wrestling.
Oh my god. You're the type of people who nobody wants to have a party with.
I like funny stuff, but not in my wrestling. I think you.
I like my wrestling like my wrestling. I like my funny where I like my fun.
Exactly. All right. Road Warrior Hawk attempts suicide.
Yes.
How?
It's funny.
How is it? So you're making fun of someone who's suicidal. You think that's funny?
That's a different day and age.
That's not funny.
It's not funny now, but
DX and X-Pac's blackface.
Oh, that's not funny.
No, it's not. Okay. Big Boss Man ruins Big Show's funeral. When did Big Show die? When? Do you want to know what's funny? Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler. Because he was talking crap about Tennessee people saying they need to wear soap. He even went and took soap and started showing them how to use it. He also showed them how to use toothpaste. Now that's funny. And you didn't know that it was fake. You thought... What?
What's your opinion on Doink the Clown?
Come on, man. You know my opinion on Doink the Clown. He's got as much charisma as Orange Cassidy. You know you love Orange.
I love comedy. Obviously there's some things that are hit or miss, but it's television. It's entertaining.
What do you want your wrestling to be? You want it to be sports entertainment?
Yes.
You don't want wrestling?
I mean, I like both. Now there's a good mixture of both. I like the badassness like it had in the Attitude Era.
There was barely any.
Oh, you're stupid.
Okay, other than The Rock, Stone Cold, Mick Foley, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H and them were not. They were clowns. They were doing stupid stuff all the time. I don't count them as badass.
Okay, but here's another thing. Look at all the storylines we got. We got one of the best, if not the best storyline in Undertaker and Kane and Paul Bearer about the brothers. Badass. You got the Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. Then you have Stone Cold versus The Rock. Then you had the Nation of Domination. You had DX, invading WWE headquarters. Or invading freaking
that was stupid.
WCW. That was awesome.
No, where are you gonna get a tank?
Huh?
Where the hell is DX gonna get a tank?
It's up to your imagination.
No! I want my wrestling like my wrestling.
Did Mom not love you or something?
No, she didn't. Nobody loves me. That's why I'm bitter.
A good reason.
It's ridiculous. You know it's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
That's like dog food on you. That's like me pouring dog food on Roman Reigns. It's corny.
You're talking about whenever Stone Cold Steve Austin came into the ring with the beer truck and started spraying the whole freaking what's the thing called, the corporation down. You don't think that's
you can get a beer truck.
Oh my lord. Okay, so you're just continuing the Undertaker saying, "Oh, if he dies, he can't come back."
What are you talking about?
Because he was the dead man. A dead man can't wrestle. He's dead. Or Kane.
I didn't look at him as dead.
It's the same thing, though. It's the same thing.
It's corny.
Oh my lord.
You're about to throw a tantrum.
No, I'm not. You're the one who's complaining.
How am I complaining?
You're the one who's clueless.
I'm not clueless. Okay, so we'll keep going. The women's division in the Attitude Era.
Trish Stratus.
Okay.
Rita, Stacy Keibler.
No.
Victoria.
Come on, man. You know they're like only two of them are great, and the rest of them were doing brawn panty matches, doing pillow fights, or a freaking beauty pageant with the fabulous Moolah.
Hell yeah.
That's stupid.
No, it's not. It's the era. You're telling me. Okay. What was the 90s like with movies? Raunchy comedies of the American Pie. Yeah, all
that was the 2000s.
Okay, Bobby Boucher, the Water Boy, all his, it's all the same stuff. That was the era then.
Yeah, but you don't want your wrestling to be Beavis and Butthead.
Well, in that case, go watch the wrestling you want to watch. Go watch NWA, all that crap. I mean, okay, name wrestlers from the NWA who are relevant.
The Midnight Express.
Who's the Midnight Express?
Look them up.
Exactly.
Most people know the Midnight Express.
Okay. So the top two wrestlers, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes.
Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Ricky Steamboat was not WWF at the time. You had Nick Bockwinkel, you had Jerry the King Lawler, you had the Von Erichs, you had
okay. Who knew Jerry the King Lawler mainstream before WWE?
A lot of people.
Do you look at his wrestling more, or do you look at his commentating more?
Because I was born before his wrestling, his commentating, of course. Because
everybody looks at it. Okay, talk about commentary in the Attitude Era. Whose voice is still iconic to this day?
JR.
Guess who AEW picked up because of the weight he holds in the commentary booth.
How long has he been doing commentary?
Who, JR? Years.
When did he start? Where did he start?
Probably NWA, but nobody remembers him off there. Everybody remembers him.
Only people our age remember him from the Attitude Era.
That's all that matters right now.
Not really.
Even people back then, I guarantee you.
They don't like phony wrestling.
It's not phony. It's wrestling. It's not
phony.
Just the traditional wrestling you like, but it's wrestling.
It ruined the business, and you know it.
No, it didn't. If it ruined the business, then there wouldn't be AEW, there wouldn't be WWE, there wouldn't be anything. It's still popular to this day.
Not as popular.
It's still booming.
Okay. So,
how come? If the Attitude Era sucks so bad, how come today it's still profitable?
Because people have nostalgia glasses on. Most of the people we grew up with lived it during the Attitude Era, right?
Yeah, they're still good.
So hold on. What's going to happen in 20 years? Do you remember watching? Do you remember anything before the 90s? Do you even remember the Attitude Era?
No, I watched highlights of it and everything, but it was enjoyable. It's funny.
Okay, so you know nothing.
With Kurt Angle playing the guitar with his little cowboy hat.
If I wanted to watch that, I'd watch it in living color.
It's funny. It's edgy. It's funny. It's a man against the machine.
That's the only good storyline. Yes.
The Kane and Undertaker, Mankind.
How about Undertaker kidnapping Stephanie McMahon?
The four faces of Mankind. All that stuff.
How about Undertaker kidnapping Stephanie McMahon? Austin rescues her, but it's all orchestrated by Vince McMahon. What does that sound like?
It sounds like good television.
It sounds like Jerry Springer.
That's fine.
Jerry Springer doesn't even like Jerry Springer.
It's fine.
But he did it for the money.
Okay, same thing with... Okay, so you're going to tell me...
Vince McMahon...
You're telling me David Arquette winning the title for in the big gold in WCW. That's totally fine.
That's in the Attitude Era. That's garbage.
That's WCW though.
That's still part of that.
It's two different.
That's
products.
garbage too, but that's still that era of wrestling.
What's your prime years?
Prime years?
Prime years.
Probably 70s, 80s.
Okay, what years got you into actual wrestling? What brought you into wrestling?
Goldberg.
Initially.
Goldberg at first, and Rey Mysterio.
Goldberg, that kind of era.
And then I stopped like in 2001 or 2000. I only watched for Goldberg and Rey.
It's still good.
I don't remember
the Attitude Era, I prefer the Ruthless Aggression Era.
Okay.
I mean, Attitude Era was great, but I really like the Ruthless Aggression Era.
What's the difference between the Ruthless Aggression Era and the Attitude Era?
It's a lot more. It was a lot more younger, a lot more new stars. Then Undertaker was actually instead of him being the American Badass, it actually started him being the actual Undertaker he used to be, with all his good matches with Edge, Batista, Shawn Michaels, Mark Henry, all that good stuff. And you had the John Cena Edge, you had the Batista with the Evolution, you had Lita and Edge, the Rated R scene. He had the tag team division.
Did you know, according to the 100 matches to watch before one dies, only one from the Attitude Era came in the top 10?
No, that's fine. But you gotta look at it this way. If you're to go back, what is more rewatchable than just the match? I guarantee you their episodes, their whole book about the Attitude Era is a lot more rewatchable as far as storyline goes than it is about any type of wrestling you want to look at. I mean, the matches may be rewatchable, but the whole history of watching it from start to finish in the Attitude Era, I guarantee you, is a lot more rewatchable and marketable than anything else.
I'm
sorry. Do I really want to watch the stories about Hulk Hogan and his matches? I don't give a shit about that. Are you telling me I mean, the only thing pre-Attitude Era that I can remember of is the Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Not really anything else. 90% of the stuff that was before the Attitude Era was really rewatchable. And
how do you know? Because every time I've sent you a match, you've never watched them.
Because it doesn't entertain me. You look at WWE ratings before then. Their ratings were...
I'm talking about wrestling as a whole. I'm not talking just WWE.
Oh, I mean, there's some... I mean, even today, though, you gotta look at it this way. Maybe they weren't focusing on wrestling as much. Just like they're more focused on sports entertainment, making their self-stars. I mean, look at it now. Stone Cold Steve Austin's one of the biggest stars there is because of the Attitude Era. The Rock. The only reason why he has his career is because the Attitude Era. Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, Mark Henry. You have Prince Albert. Being behind the Road Dogs. Come on now, the Road Dogs. Billy Gunn. The only reason why he's still wrestling today is because of the Attitude Era. Then you had X-Pac, You had, let me see, China. You had just a whole Shawn
Boy,
Michaels.
just because it's interesting doesn't mean it's good. I mean, Hitler's interesting, but he ain't good.
Are you really comparing Attitude Era to Hitler?
World War II is not interesting. The history
World War
of
II is very interesting.
is it a good thing?
That was not
That
a good thing.
Hitler was a good thing.
Let me see. So, okay, even though
a train wreck is interesting, doesn't mean it's good.
So, okay, the Attitude Era created the Monday Night Wars.
And what happened after the Monday Night Wars?
They won. They freaking won. Then they had the Ruthless Aggression Era, which was awesome. Then they had the I think the down years for WWE was, I would say, after Daniel Bryan won the championship. Do I say maybe 2 years ago? That's when the gray area of wrestling started to get vanilla. You had the same person who's been you've had the same person who's been a stranglehold for the last 40 years. Okay, the last 40 years. Okay, I say last 30 years is all about men's sports entertainment. About that stuff. Now it's starting to transition to people who like it, but are starting to now transition back into the wrestling. It's the circle of life. You gotta, if you stay the same way, eventually your product's gonna go down.
Then why are sports still good? I mean, they could be fixed, just like wrestling could be fixed. It's fixed.
Why is sports entertaining?
Yeah, do they really evolve?
Come up with different. Yeah, it do. If you look at the 1940s of football till now, it's completely different.
Well, yeah, it's getting the ball over the goal line. Nothing that didn't change. The way you get the ball over the goal line has changed.
Yeah, but it didn't change. Wrestling didn't change.
Oh, it changed.
I mean,
it used to be a battle. It used to be a battle of good and evil, and now it's. And then we went through that time where it was just.
Isn't it not now? The battle of good and evil.
Some parts.
I mean, not to the. I mean, battle of good and evil. It's. I mean, to me, wrestling's the only time I see good and bad and evil was Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, for that era. If you go Hulk Hogan, who did he have as a bad person? Nobody. Who was there? Even when it was after they had Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. What else has been there? There's not really been bad versus evil in wrestling.
I challenge you, boy, to watch some old matches and tell me the quality. Fine. Tell me the quality isn't better. Not the film quality, but the match quality. I'm saying
that wrestling now is way better than it was back then. It's just not. They don't have the freedom that they want. I mean, if wrestlers were able to actually wrestle and do what they're supposed to do instead of having to do the corny stuff, I guarantee you we have better athletes now than we did back then.
Yeah, but you also have better. We may have better athletes, but they don't have ring psychology.
Yeah, I get that.
They don't know what the hell they're doing.
There's a reason why the 90s is a whole lot better than it is now. Because the reason why the 90s were the prime years for wrestling. You had Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker. You had
Bret was late 80s.
No, even then.
Early 90s.
Even Shawn Michaels and Undertaker matches. Even then were really good. With the Hell in a Cell with Kane came in. That was a great match.
Okay.
You had the Fatal 4-Way, and I think it was actually might have been that Ruthless Aggression. Or, wait, is that? I don't know. It might have been that time. Or the ladder matches with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. Those are always good. Bret Hart ones. I mean, you don't really remember Bret Hart's title reigns. You remember his matches. You remember him from the Montreal Screwjob. Remember all that stuff. Yeah. It's like the characters back then were a lot more better than they are now. They had a lot more star power. They had a lot of people.
I would rather watch a good match than a good than a funny segment.
We're not going to be watching that match very long because that company is going under. Yeah, you have to, even though the matches, if you want just straight up matches, go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's all they do.
AEW is not going to go under. That guy's a billionaire. He ain't going to go under.
Of course. But the thing is, though, don't they have corniness in their thing?
They have a lot of corny. Do I complain about it?
Yes, you do.
Do I complain about corny?
You talk about pockets. Even though you and I do not like him.
I skip his segments every time. I skip everything he does.
He's not entertaining. But the thing is, though, even though you have corny stuff, yes, it's corny. It's back then, as kids and everything, as even teenagers, you believed it. You believed that.
Did I really believe that Boogeyman had worms coming out of his mouth?
I did.
You were the most gullible little kid ever. Then I would have been. I was like,
because I had a good childhood. It's about
Boogeyman. Really?
It used to scare me. I used to have nightmares about the Undertaker. I used to. That's how invested I was in the story. And when I watched the first match of WrestleMania I watched was Shawn Michaels Undertaker. Obviously, I know he's not Attitude.
Why was that a great match though?
Because of the storyline behind it.
What was the storyline behind it?
Because he wanted to beat the Undertaker streak and kill the dead man.
What? Okay, so why was the Undertaker so great then?
Because of his streak. But you know when his streak was actually recognized?
A few years later. It was like
no. His streak was recognized. His streak was by accident. It wasn't artificially. It was naturally. Yeah. The only time it was recognized was whenever Randy Orton. It was him against Randy Orton.
Yeah, but Undertaker. But that match. Okay, so that match right there, Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, is one of the best matches of all time, right? To you.
Yep.
Your favorite match.
Yep.
Is it not a simple storyline? I want to beat you. I want to beat your streak. The most simple thing ever is your favorite match.
Yep.
That's what I like in my wrestling.
I'm going to talk about the loaded talent roster they had. Name a roster in any era who had a better talent roster during the Attitude Era.
Other than the Attitude Era?
Other than the Attitude Era. A better roster.
And I'm not allowed to look it up.
Okay, I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
The Undertaker.
Okay.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay.
The Rock. Mankind.
Okay.
Kane. Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Show.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jericho.
Okay.
DX. The Dudley Boys. The Hardy Boys. Edge and Christian. Chris Benoit. Dean Malenko. Eddie Guerrero. Rey Mysterio. Goldust. The Godfather. Val Venus. Ken Shamrock. The Big
Val
Boss
Venus
Man,
was not that great. Ken Shamrock wasn't that great. If you're talking about Hall of Famers, like people, I would.
Test and Vader. You know how underrated you think Vader is in the ring.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
How many of but I don't think Vader's a top 10 wrestler of all time.
Well, you're not gonna get the top 10
or even top 20. He's not even top 20.
But it's star power. Everybody came from. So all those wrestlers that you like came from right before, or were trained before the Attitude
Randy
Era.
Savage, Ricky Steamboat, even Hulk Hogan, who I don't like, Ultimate Warrior. How big of a star was he? Even though I thought he was garbage. How big of a star was Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes? How about the who else? There's more. All these wrestlers were great before
They were all over. Ric Flair didn't come to WWE till the 90s.
I'm not talking about WWE. We're talking how WWE's Attitude Era killed wrestling as a whole. I'm not talking just WWE. I'm talking throughout wrestling.
I don't think it killed wrestling. I just think when you have such a polarizing era,
it had no foundation. It wasn't sustainable.
I don't think it's not that it wasn't sustainable. It's just it got to the point where it was so big, and eventually, once you're at your peak, you're obviously start going to go down. But it was pretty sustainable from the mid '90s to I say about
1996 to 2001. That's a 5-year period.
That's a pretty damn good period.
Pretty good period.
Then you had the ruthless aggression when everything started to twinkle down. Was when it went from TV-14 to PG.
I don't mind things being PG. You can make you can make a good story with PG wrestling.
But the thing is, though, WWE didn't have a 5-star match until CM Punk and John Cena. But the thing is, their main focus isn't wrestling. It's not.
I'm talking about wrestling in general.
If you're talking about wrestling in general, yeah, that's fine. People could care less. The casual viewer could care less how good your wrestling is. You could do the best moves in the world, but if it doesn't talk to you, the story behind it, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares.
What's the best story in wrestling?
Best story in wrestling: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon, the best one.
And is that good versus evil?
That is good versus evil.
All you have to do is tell a story like that.
See you later.
The rest of the WWF was.
It was Stone Cold versus the Corporation. Stone Cold Steve Austin was the working man's hero.
Yeah, and what about the rest of it? Like the rest of WWF at the Attitude Era. I'm not just talking about. I know Stone Cold and The Rock that's the best thing in the Attitude Era. But what about the stuff under that?
There was great stuff. They had the tag team division. You're telling me where was the greatest tag match of all time?
That I've seen?
That you've seen. I still remember today.
I didn't see the TLC match.
It's the triple threat match in Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys.
One great moment.
The Hardy Boys. No, there's been multiple of their matches have been stellar.
And
the tag
what about
division,
now? Are they not garbage matches now?
I say majority, and about half of it's garbage. But that's not wrestling's fault. That's the person.
That's WWE's fault.
That's WWE's fault. But the same thing with AEW. I mean, they focus more on wrestling. But the thing is, though, it's repetitive. It doesn't matter how good your wrestling is. You could be the best wrestler in the world, but if you don't have a story to back it up, it doesn't mean anything.
That's my complaint. That's my complaint with wrestling. But it all started with the Attitude Era to me. Okay,
here's a good thing. As the real question is, has wrestling grown stale? Has wrestling grown stale?
I think nobody knows how to tell a story anymore. The only person that knows how to tell a story, and we all know, I'm not going to mention names, we all know who those guys are that can tell a story. We have Roman Reigns who can tell a story, right? Why is he so popular right now?
Because he knows how to tell a story. He has a run that you want to see beaten.
Exactly, right? And it's it's a simple concept.
I got a good argument for you. Great argument.
Okay.
Attitude Era was amazing. You had a lot of good storylines. Can it be leading towards the instant gratification now where people can't sit and let a story develop? They have to have the instantaneous.
That's what it is now.
I don't think it's wrestling. I don't think it was the Attitude Era. I don't think it's anything like that. What I think, honestly, it's not the wrestling that's changed. It's the viewer. The viewer has became. They want it instantaneously. We're talking over the camera, over Discord.
Well, it's because I can't travel. It's because I can't travel.
No. Isn't it a lot more instantaneous to do this than for you to travel 2-3 hours to where I live?
I would travel.
It's a whole lot easier.
You know, I would travel 2 to 3 hours just to talk to you if I could.
I know, but isn't this a lot more instant? You're looking at everything now. Back then, if you looked at click the channel, how many channels did you have back then?
Like 3 or 4 or 5, depends.
How many are now?
Hundreds.
How many different? Thousands. So, look at it this way: is wrestling gonna turn? Okay, I'm gonna click to the channels. Oh, I'm seeing these guys just do the same thing over, or doing some different wrestling. It doesn't click. Or you have things that are story-based sports entertainment that are gonna leak the viewer.
Depends. It depends on how well you tell that story.
I mean, but that's how.
We don't.
Okay. AW. What's the number one story that's bringing them in? No, the number one story.
MJF and CM Punk was the number one.
CM Punk. And before and after that, it's not CM Punk. Is CM Punk really an asshole? Was WWE right? You know, that's the story. Same thing with WWE. The story is they want to see Roman Reigns beaten. The wrestling is getting better. That's the reason why AEW wrestlers are going, because they think the wrestling's better. It's building up your talent. It's a new director behind the movie.
Yeah, but also, you know, I complain about the train wreck that's AEW. You know I do. Their storylines don't make sense. It's the same. People don't know how to tell a story. If you tell an engaging story, then you will get viewers. It doesn't matter if you do silly crap, and it doesn't matter if you do something simple like Roman Reigns. Which one?
You just contradicted yourself.
I just contradicted myself.
You just contradicted everything you just said.
But which one? But which one's gonna hold up longer?
Okay. What we expect to be the climax is the wrestling match. I'm sorry, I'd rather have. Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. That was about a 30 to 45-minute main event. That's what I still remember to this day. What was the before? It was the story that captivated the audience to see. Then you had the wrestling.
It was a simple story, was it not?
It was a 2-year period. Then you had the Triple H Undertaker match. Then you had the end of the era Hell in a Cell match.
Okay, so two years of building this story, right? 2 or 3 years, right? 4. We'll say 4. So how long did it take for the Stone Cold and Rock match at WrestleMania 17? How long were they building that match? Rock versus Stone Cold, 34 days.
Okay. So here's another.
So which one would you rather watch? Would you rather watch the Rock and Stone Cold, or would you rather watch Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker?
Personally, I want to watch Shawn Michaels Undertaker. That's what
you would watch the whole feud. You would watch the stories and everything.
That's the story. I mean,
and how simple was the story? Was it corny? Was it stupid? Was it ridiculous? Or was it simple storytelling?
I mean, at some points there was corny stuff, but most of the time it was serious. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's always been with wrestling. There's been some corny stuff, which was entertaining.
I'm telling you, the Attitude Era was just over the top with corny stuff.
Of course, it was over the top. That's what everything was.
It cheapened the product.
Well, it didn't cheapen. It just made how profitable the profit was. The product.
I mean, I can make a bad.
Okay, what do you remember better? What do you remember better? What do you think was better, the '90s or now? I'm not wrestling, just everything in general.
I don't know. I wasn't old enough to know.
No, the '90s. So now you know the '90s. Your childhood was the '90s. You always talk about to Alexis. The '90s was so much better. Because another reason why, because pop culture in general was at a sky high. Everything was sky high.
I remember only the good. Okay, so were we?
So, my thing is, we're talking about professional wrestling. Was the match quality back then as good as it is?
Better.
As good as it was. No, during the Attitude Era, I will give it to you.
Oh.
The wrestling quality wasn't the best.
It wasn't 7-minute matches at WrestleMania.
It wasn't the best. The story was amazing. The stories that they had were amazing.
Do you think? So you think that other than if you take out the Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, were they good? The stories under that.
The Chris Jericho. Amazing.
What's his best story?
His best story was becoming double champion.
Okay? So we're talking about that. That was a good story, and why was that a good story?
'Because he was almost like the underdog. 'Cause 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 he was al and he dethroned
It's a simple
Christian.
story. Simple story, right?
Simple story. He dethroned it. It's like I said. I'm not disputing the wrestling. The wrestling wasn't the best.
When they story told like that though, with the whole underdog or with good versus evil, that was the best. That was the stuff we remember, right?
Yes.
If it wasn't for us making fun of it, would we remember Mae Young? No, we wouldn't remember. Or do you remember that? Do you remember seeing any clips of that racist Asian stereotype?
No.
See,
same thing with the ruthless aggression. Remember Vince McMahon with do-rag Vince McMahon, where he went up to John Cena and he's like, "What's up, man?" I
don't remember it.
Everybody remembers it.
I don't remember it. I remember Ruthless. I remember Randy Orton fighting the Undertaker, the Legend Killer. I remember the Legend Killer.
Legend Killer with Cowboy Bob Orton.
Exactly. I remember all of that. I don't remember the corny stuff.
Wrestling, I'll tell you, wrestling has always been corny.
It's always been corny, but we don't remember the corny. The Attitude Era gets way too much credit for being good, when in reality it wasn't that great because of all the corny. It was over the top corniness. Way more corniness than ever.
So that's the same thing with the 70s. It's all corny.
What's corny?
Most of everything has always been corny.
Yeah, but was it over the top? Was someone giving birth to a hand?
Yes, there's a lot of stuff.
No, there was nothing like that going on.
Yes.
No. In the 70s. There was a lady.
Yes.
No. Can you look it up and find it?
Give me something to how more. Okay.
The best comedy line. What's the best comedy angle of all time? It has to be Andy Kaufman, right? Against Lawler.
I don't know.
If you look it up, it's one of the greatest. People are still talking about it today. I mean, you're not, but a lot of people.
Good,
still
okay. So the thing is, why 80s, 90s, and 2000s have always been over the top.
So not 70s. It didn't
take a sec. 80s and 90s and 2000s.
You just said 70s.
Even 70s, I guarantee you have. So
there
you're
was
telling
no hand.
me
there was corny stuff, but there's no hand. There's no freaking fake funerals for Big Show. There's no dumb storylines where your daughter's getting kidnapped and you orchestrated this whole thing. There's no brawl. There's no brawl for all where you have wrestlers that are trying to fight for real and they look bad and they all get injured. And you know who's behind all of this? Vince Russo was behind all of this. How much do you like Vince Russo?
OCW could care less. But you're telling me though, back then, and this is the issue nowadays too. People take themselves too seriously now. Back then, you know what? Everything was kayfabe. Everything was.
Well, maybe wrestlers wouldn't be jumping around and doing a bunch of flips if people took themselves a little more seriously. Maybe wrestling would be better.
Everything now wants reality. Everybody wants reality TV. That's what take yourself seriously. Now then, you didn't
reality TV doesn't take themselves seriously. Obviously, that's trash.
The thing is, though, dude, you gotta think about it. It was. You watched it. Okay, if you were to do two different products, you have New Japan Pro Wrestling back then, which is it's strictly wrestling. And you have it. It's television. It's entertaining. It's something that made you forget about the real world. That was the thing that you wanted. I get Attitude Era. Okay, if you're looking in terms of wrestling, like I've said, Attitude Era wasn't defined by wrestling. It wasn't. It was defined as being
entertaining
and edgy. Even if Mae Young giving birth to a hand, and
that's Beavis
Mark Henry being the father. You know what I mean? Or Mae Young, or Rikishi, him and his Oh, I did it for The Rock. It's entertaining, obviously, and him smashing his butt against people's faces. It's entertaining.
As a
fun.
kid, it
you remember,
is.
and don't you say you didn't like him, because as a kid, you would have so much fun.
As a kid, but my tastes have changed.
That's the difference, though. Your taste has changed now because you like serious wrestling. But as a kid, you're telling me you did not play the video games and make Kurt Angle. No, I'm not gonna say, but you and I both know that
or we Stone Cold Stunner the Jonas Brothers off the Hell in a Cell. Yes, or Donovan did.
When we do wrestling games, do we make serious wrestlers?
I do.
Or do we do corny? You do corny wrestlers.
What? Who?
That's what we've always. It's Ronald McDonald.
Okay, the last 5 years. In the last 5 years.
We still do it.
Yeah, because we want to beat them up. Because it's fake.
Exactly. You're telling me you didn't want to see Undertaker do a squash match against this corny ass guy. You're like, get this guy out of here.
It's funny because it's fake.
It's entertaining. You want to see this guy beat the shit out of this guy. Like, what the hell are you doing in here? It's entertainment.
You have to admit, though, but wrestling is better when you have a simple story. Not video game. I'm not talking about video game wise. I'm talking real life. The best stories are not overdone.
The best stories, I'll tell you right now, I'll agree with you. The best story is when we have two Goliaths going at each other, you want to see it explode.
Or an underdog. You want an underdog.
Or an underdog. Like, the best wrestling story we've had in a long time before is what's it call it? 2014 Daniel Bryan, where he was the ultimate underdog. Do we remember that, or do we remember the match?
I didn't watch the match because
we didn't watch the match, but
we couldn't afford the match. But I would remember I would remember the match if I watched the match.
It's okay. It's the same thing.
And I would go back and watch the match if. Yeah, I would go back.
We remember the story more than the match. The Attitude Era was peak storyline.
I think it was
same thing with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. What do we remember most?
I remember the match.
Oh, majority of the people remember the promos. The Dusty Rhodes reach out and reach in my hand to you, or the Ric Flair just wheeling, kiss dealing, wheeling dealing.
Which had better storylines? What was better storylines? That Ric Flair storyline, or
we only remember. Okay, out of all the other stuff, what do we remember for Ric Flair? We only remember him and Dusty Rhodes.
I remember him against Harley Race. I watched that.
That's you though. That's you.
That's a lot of that's wrestling, like hardcore wrestling fans remember that.
Yeah,
but you're not a hardcore wrestling fan.
But you're telling me, no, I'm not. I mean, I enjoy wrestling. I am an avid viewer now of WWE. But if you're talking about the hardcore, dedicated fans, obviously they're going to remember that stuff.
Not AEW fans.
But what I'm talking about is the casual viewer.
Not AEW fans. They get mad if you they get mad if you don't worship AEW.
Who?
You're saying hardcore fan. I'm a hardcore wrestling fan. Like, I love all wrestling, right? Like, I love 80s, 70s, some Attitude Era. I could watch a match and be content. But AEW has complained, their fans complain if you say, I liked these new wrestlers can't hold a candle to Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair's matches.
Obviously, TJ.
But I'm saying, like, are they hardcore fans, or are AEW fans just smelling their own farts?
No, I'll get. There's a difference because it told a story. What I'm trying to tell you is, obviously, we remember Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. Why do you think they're so respected within the wrestling business? Because they were so good at selling a story. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say, too.
I know. I'm not arguing with you anymore. I'm just asking a question. Like, would you call me more of a because would you call someone who watches those old matches and enjoys those old matches and says the product now isn't as good as it was, and then AEW's fans, not all of them, but the hardcore ones, are they hardcore fans or are they just pissed off?
I say they're pissed off with the product. They want good wrestling.
Like they think their product is the best, and if you have a differing opinion, like I say, oh, dude, AEW's product isn't as good as it should be, because I have went on Instagram and said, why is Wardlow being taken to the limit by Pockets? And a bunch of people got on my case. Am I wrong for saying that was a stupid thing to do, or is it just people being stupid and mean about it?
I say what I don't like. I watched AEW Dynamite this week. When I looked at the viewers, what I looked at was keyboard warriors. The casual viewer looks like keyboard warriors to me over there. They are anti WWE. They're anti. But the thing is, though, is AEW really that better? No, it's not.
No, it's a different product.
Everybody here will tell you, 80s, I believe some of the 70s, were the golden years of wrestling. Those were the golden years of wrestling. You had Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat. To this day, it's one of the best feuds. Yeah. Those are the golden years of wrestling. Maybe once it transitioned to Attitude Era, it transformed into
sports entertainment,
television, sports entertainment, rather than wrestling. It was two different products, two different types. Back then, you believed Matt. You took your kids to go see the match. Yeah. When you're at 90s, 2000s, you took your kids to go see. You want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, a lot of kids, also in the Attitude Era, a lot of kids weren't allowed to watch WWF.
But no, they did though.
They did, but you know.
The thing is though, is you can't compare apples to oranges.
Yeah.
It's two different. It's like right now, you can't compare WWE to AEW. Yeah, two different.
Am I anti AEW or anti WWE?
You're anti sports entertainment.
I
like wrestling.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You're a different viewer. You prefer wrestling.
So when I talk bad about WWE, I also talk bad about AEW, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm equal on both. I'm equal on both, right?
But the thing is, though, like I told you, there's.
I'm a CM Punk mark.
Will Ospreay is a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
I watched that match. Everything else sucked in AEW.
Yeah, the Death Triangle, they suck. Like, they sucked bad. Like, they were all in the ring.
The only thing what I remember was the wrestling match with freaking Will Ospreay. Because I'm an avid viewer. That's a freaking really good wrestling match. Yeah. It's either you have to have a 5-star match to sustain your audience, or you have story. What is more easier to have?
Well, right now, what's the best story in AEW?
CM Punk MJF and CM Punk versus it's CM Punk right now.
We don't know what's gonna happen. We
don't know it's the story. Mm-hmm. How good has his wrestling been since he's came back? Right. So, but how good is the story though?
Very good.
Regardless of how I view about CM Punk right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you called him Hulk Hogan.
I call him. He's Hulk Hogan. Same thing
Hulk Hogan I put John Moxley over
10 years ago. The same thing they said about him 10 years ago is the same thing they're saying now. And Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston has never liked CM Punk, and CM Punk's never liked Eddie Kingston.
Same thing. We have Hangman Adam Page. I went back and watched that promo. It's been confirmed that Hangman Adam Page. Your biggest concern of him is he talks. He doesn't have oomph behind his promos, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's anxiety and depression. He's not like that. But that promo was one of the. If you look back then, it was like, oh, you know, whatever. Now it holds a lot of weight.
Did you hear though? Did you hear about that? That there might not be any facts to those rumors. That someone backstage is just leaking crap.
Who knows?
Who knows?
But now
we don't, and I'm not gonna sit here and judge. I said what I said about Hangman and Omega and all them, and CM Punk. Yeah, all these people, wrestlers have egos, but we don't know what's going behind backstage. We can only speculate. So we know for a fact that we do know that Hulk Hogan didn't want to put Shawn Michaels over. For a fact.
When do we know about that though? We didn't know about it then. We didn't know about that till years later.
Yeah, so we don't know about what's going on with CM Punk. We don't.
I still think he's as much. I think he's Hulk Hogan. I think he buys into his own hype. He's only in there for himself. If he's not in the spotlight, he has an issue.
Then what was up with him putting Moxley over?
Do you really think that he would let a squash match like that happen just for the cause of it?
No, I know there's going to be something, but Hulk Hogan would have never done it at all.
No. He had to be forced into it.
Hulk Hogan was never squashed. Why do you think Piper never wanted to fight him?
Because he would never lose.
He would never lose.
Into his own
CM
ego.
Punk loses. CM Punk let MJF win. And you know he's going to let him win again. You know MJF's going to win that third match.
Of course.
Would Hulk Hogan ever have done that?
If CM Punk doesn't see you as his equal, if it doesn't benefit him,
then why is he still cool with Kofi? Kofi's who's more popular?
I mean, you gotta. CM Punk didn't become popular until 2011.
Okay.
He was popular, but he wasn't.
Okay. Also, what about Powerhouse Hobbs? What he said about his mom?
Did that benefit him?
No.
But you're telling me, it paints him in a different picture.
Powerhouse Hobbs came out with that story. He straight up said that before my match with him, he told me this. Powerhouse Hobbs also said that he watches his matches with him.
Well, I mean, he has people who like him. There's people who don't like him.
I mean, Kenny Omega does the Bucks and Omega have Meltzer in their pocket. You do know that, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Like anything they say, like they can do no wrong in Meltzer's mind. So
of course, but Dave Meltzer, we don't really.
But that's who came out. That's who came out with the story too.
And I mean,
that's the guy stirring up the pot with CM Punk right now.
Yeah, but obviously that's pretty much it. We're gonna end it right there. We talked for about an hour and a half on this topic, so we're gonna end it. We thank you guys for being a part of our lives. Put down below if you think the Attitude Era was bad for business in the long run. We obviously know how great it was, but in the long run, did it damage the business? Put it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That actually helps us a lot. We love you guys and thank you, and peace and love. I'm Anthony signing out.
I'm Trent. Adios. Bye. Welcome to Hot Takes. We're hotter than the Central Valley. Half the time, we don't know what we're going to be doing. This is my buddy. His name is
Anthony.
And my name's Trent. And we're going to be doing a hot take. Yeah!
Hot take, hot take, hot take. All right. So we're talking about it. My brother has an argument that he says the Attitude Era was a mistake. And it should never happen. Because one, it ruined wrestling. On me, on the other hand, I love the Attitude Era.
We really needed it. We need an intro, though.
Yeah. What you should do is combine all that stuff that's freaking just random and compile it with some music in the background. So it's like.
I don't have any guitar. I don't have a guitar anymore.
Oh, loser.
I have to fix mine.
Ask Michelle.
He's in Indiana.
Well, so is Indiana, but he's right here.
Welcome
he ain't the only person.